Hello and thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm sharing with you this large altered gear inspired by the mood board over at the Art Daily Cafe. This mood board is full of turquoise and lovely rust colors with lots of grungy texture. As you can see, I started with an 8-inch gear and lots of little resin bits that I poured ahead of time. I started applying the blue-green texture paste and I decided this just wasn't working. So I'm going to go ahead and add a layer of impasto, and that's going to give me the base to build up my color, and it's going to make the blue-green a much brighter color. So while I'm not going to make you watch me paint everything blue, I do paint everything blue. I didn't add any gesso or anything like that because the impasto doesn't really require it, so that's what I'm doing there. Now I've moved back onto the blue-green texture paste, and this is one of the sets, the fantasy texture paste sets, and this is one of a 3-pack. It has the fire orange, this, and a taupe color in it. Anyhow, so I'm back to adding the blue-green on top of the blue, and now that I've added the blue, it's looking much better, and any spots that are missing are covered by the blue impasto, so it just looks better. I'm using the same color on the gear, and here I'm really trying to build up the texture. So you'll see me even trying to like just grunge it off the brush there. There you go. And this is the same brush that I use for all my texture paste, so it's already ruined. It's not a big deal, but maybe just don't use a brush that you are too attached to. Anyhow, everything that you're going to see me attach here, with the exception of the barnyard stars, are all just little pieces of resin that I've poured. You can see that I have one of the new ladies from the vintage portraits, and the large gear there from the large gear set. And then there's some other random bits and pieces that I had poured for different projects that maybe I didn't use or I poured ahead of time. Anyhow, so I'm just going to start building up my cluster, and this, does take a little bit of time, but this really was the bulk of this project. So while it's painful to watch me put things on and take things off, put things on and take things off, this really did take the most time while I was building this. And even though I had laid it out ahead of time to try and get a feel for where things were going, it just wasn't fitting back together. So you'll see me play with that and move things around a little bit. And I'm just going to continue. And then once I get everything in place, I'm going to let this dry for a couple hours. I just walk away and let it dry. So that way I know that all the paste is 100% dry and I know the gel is dry before I try to add more color to the top of it, because it's kind of built up a little bit high and I didn't want anything to move. So I'm going to continue to fight with it, and there you can see I finally got it under control. And now I'm going in with the fire orange, and this is from the same set with the blue-green, and this is not a color combo that I would typically use or choose myself, but I really loved the mood board over at the Art Daily Cafe, so I wanted to try and do something inspired by it, and I hadn't made this project yet for this month, so I figured I'd give it a go. So I'm adding this fire orange, and I really like this color, but I'm not really liking it on the gear. I'm just not liking this layer. This isn't really my style, and I'm kind of fighting the process here, but I'm trying to just keep going with it. So I'm adding the orange, and now, this comes in a set of 3. They're supposed to go together. So now I'm adding this taupe rose, because maybe that'll make me like it a little bit more. Yeah, not so much. It's a beautiful color, and I'm sure I would love it with something else, but not so much here. I'm not liking this at all. And I'm still trying because, I'm just going to keep plugging away, and you got to get through the ugly part, so I'm just gonna keep adding it, and maybe that's going to make me not think that it's ugly, but I'm not getting there. So I'm going to dry it and try to figure out what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to go back and add more orange. So here I am again with more fire orange paste, and I'm really layering this on here. And I'm figuring out that the more layers of the orange that I get on top of the blue-green, the more I like it, because it's brighter and it's building up the color. It's kind of like when you're dry brushing with white gesso. You just keep going layer after layer and building up on top of dry layer, and it gets brighter. And that's how this worked for me. So finally, I'm starting to like it. I have the orange almost the way that I want it. I'm going back over with the blue where I touched the orange and didn't like it. So there's a lot of times where I've just went back and forth with this, and there's so much texture on this gear now because all my redos, I guess. But I'm just touching the blue on top of the stars and just trying to give this a little bit more definition, trying to make something stand out just a little bit more, retouching over the orange where I think there's too much with the blue. And I'm still trying to not hate this. Now, I absolutely love this sticker, and I can't believe that I absolutely ruined it. But this is not the sticker on the final project, but I do use that tiny little adorable little clip. But unfortunately the sticker got lost in the process, and while I love this one, it's not on the final project. Yeah. I'm not the cleanest little creator, and sometimes things get destroyed in the process. Anyhow, so I'm just continuing to add a little bit of color to the clip and around the picture frame, and then I'm going to think that I'm done. I have everything done. I have all the color I'm going to add, and this really matches the mood board pretty well. But honestly, I went and took pictures of it, and I looked at it, and I even phoned a friend, and it didn't feel right. So I slept on it, and then I changed my mind. And I came back in, and I added some yellow rust paste on top of it. And now I'm happy with it. I absolutely love the way this turned out. The texture is insane, and it's totally not my style, but I absolutely love it. So it's a little out of the box, and for me anyhow. And I hope you've enjoyed my process. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please consider giving this video a thumbs up, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And that's it. Wraps it up. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.